Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to Velocity 360 tutorial series. In this tutorial, we want to build a very simple site that uses a web theme to make it look nice. So a lot of times I get questions about whether or not I'm a designer. So if you're looking at my site right here, one of the first things people often ask me is whether or not I designed this site, whether or not I actually wrote all the designed all the graphics and buttons and whatnot. And people get the impression that I'm a designer as well as a software developer. And the answer is no, I did not design this. What I did was I used a theme, a web theme. And what is that? So a web theme is basically a pre-configured web template that you can purchase, or a lot of them are free, that give you basic UI and structure for your website. And as a programmer, what you do is you implement that theme into your site, and then you remove the template content and replace it with your own. So you're just swapping out your stuff, swapping out their stuff with your stuff. And that's a quick, easy way. Well, it's not necessarily easy, but it's a quick way to get some good looking UI on your site. So here's my site, and just like I described, I'm using a web theme. So I'm going to show you real quick how to use a theme in conjunction with a React project. So React makes this process a little bit more difficult because React isn't rendered as just pure HTML. You have to convert the theme into React components and then render the theme through the React process or React code base. So that actually adds an extra layer of complexity to this process. So what we're going to do first is we're going to download a free web theme from the internet from a site called HTML5 html5up.net. So go ahead and navigate to that site. And these are all free themes designed by a single person, by this guy right here. He does a great job, so you should follow him on Twitter, give him a shout out, do whatever it takes to promote his work. He does a fantastic job. So we're going to download. Let's see here. Let's just download the first one. Make it simple. So here we're going to download this theme here called Story, and go ahead and download that. And here it is. And then unarchive the zip folder and then open it up, and you're going to see a couple HTML pages, assets, images, and whatnot. And this is the theme we were just looking at. So if I take this index page right here and open it up in my browser, I'm going to be looking at the same theme, except now I'm loading it from my own computer rather than the internet. So look at the file, path, reference. So now we have this theme and all of its requisite CSS, assets, images, and whatnot. We can now create a project and then impose our theme onto that project. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's create a new project. So open up your terminal, CD to your workspace area. I'm going to create a new project called React Theme, and of course, normally it wouldn't be called something like React Theme. It would be called an actual project name like Velocity 360 or whatever your project is. So this is clearly just a demo. So we're going to go into the project and then run the npm install. So I'm creating it as a node project. The reason I'm doing that is because even though we don't technically have to, we're not using a database or a web server or anything like that. I'm going to run it through a web server because that's a more realistic use case scenario. It would be pretty unusual these days to create a site that's purely a raw static HTML site, and plus you wouldn't really even want to use React for that anyway. So okay, so here is my node project that I just created. Here it is. And first thing we want to do is get the theme into the project. So let's go ahead and do that. So inside the project, Express generator gives us a public directory, which already gives us a few directories for CSS, JavaScript files, images, and all that stuff. We want to get rid of all of these because we don't want them. We're going to use the ones from the theme. So right off the bat, what we have to do, and follow along closely here because this is oftentimes confusing for people. So we want to take the theme and create a duplicate, and I'll explain why in a few minutes. And then from the original, we want to take the theme and rename it literally theme, and just dump the whole thing into your public directory. And then open up the duplicate, and then from here only import the assets and the images directory, and that's it. And then get rid of the copy. We're done with that. So what we're doing is we're importing the theme essentially twice. We're importing the assets and the images individually, and then the theme in its entirety, which has everything it came with, just basically untouched. So the reason we're doing that is if you run the server again and you load the home page, what we can do is navigate to the theme directly, just to make sure we have a reference to it inside the local project. So what that means is if we ever need to navigate the theme, if we ever need to check different pages of the theme. So for example, let's see here. The theme also has another page called index demo. So if we look at that, it looks like it's all the contents of the theme. So we can use this as a reference point inside the local project so that when we build out the theme, the project with the theme itself, it will have a reference all the time. So in reality, this folder right here is just a personal reference. It doesn't go up to the server with the entire project. We do what's called git ignoring it, and then it won't be deployed with the server. So we're just using it as a personal reference. But these assets and images will go up with the server. So the first thing we want to do right now is set up the React project and just have the React project, render a very simple React component here. And then once we confirm that that's working, we can then impose the theme on top of it and then make sure that everything works well with React. Let's go ahead and do that. So we want to shut off our server and install some React modules. So obviously React, I'm going to do this pretty quickly because I don't want to focus too much on the React side of things. If this part is completely unfamiliar to you, go to my website and look for some beginner React tutorials. A good one would be this guy right here. And this guy right here. Those two give you a good in-depth overview of React and how to set everything up. So here we're just going to sort of quickly go through that. So I'm installing React, React DOM, and Webpack, obviously. Okay, and then next we're going to install all the Babel stuff. So Babel loader, preset React. Okay, and these will install our transpilers. After this is done, we're going to install the set up the Webpack config, create a simple React component, and then render that in the main page. So let's go ahead and do that. So Webpack config, and let's create a directory called src. let's cd into that. Let's create an app.js. And your file directory should look like this. And let's go ahead and get started. So okay, so here's my project base so far. Let's create the Webpack first. So Webpack, the Webpack config, excuse me. Okay, so let's establish the entry point of the app. So it's going to be src app.js, and then the output will be and source. Okay, let's specify the dev tool. Whenever I do these tutorials, I kind of gloss over this dev tool line. Let me explain what that is real quickly. So by now you should probably know that all of our React code runs in the bundle, which is just one big JS file. It's not split up into its different files, but our React components are split up into their various files. So whenever there's a crash or some sort of error without the source map, it'll just say the error is in the bundle JS line 1, which is really just one very, very long line of code that's compiling everything else in the project. So the source map gives us a way of knowing which file in the source code is where it crashed, hence the name source map. So even though the crash happened in the bundle.js, which is pretty much always going to be the case, the crash log, the error message will tell you which file in the source code it crashed in, therefore making debugging not only just easier, but really just possible, because without that it would be very hard. So that's it. Okay, so let's see here. Well, we want okay, I think we're good with that. So let's go to our source directory and create the entry point for the React app. Let's see here. Okay, so this will be our entry point. Okay, everything looks good here. Let's make sure that this successfully builds before we continue. So open new tab and hope that this runs well, which it does. And then if you open up the public directory, here are the build files. So everything worked well there. So if we go to our index.hjs, we can set up the root, import the script, and check if that worked. Okay, so in my case it did not, so let's see what happened here. Bundle, there it is. So we definitely have a problem here. That's because we don't need the prefix public. So I had this before, and that was unnecessary. In fact, it would crash it because I forgot that in the express generator, it already specifies the public as your default root directory for public assets. So that's why you don't need the public. So excuse me for that. Let's try it again, and we're in business. So now we have our React project sort of set up. Obviously, it doesn't do much, but it's just it's a React scaffold for a project. So the next thing we want to do is take the theme and superimpose it on top of this as a series of components, as a series of React components. So that's where things get a little interesting. And we'll do that in the next video, but the idea is we're going to take the theme's contents, this home page right here, which is right here, 352 lines, that's not that bad, and then we're going to take all this and superimpose it into our React code base as a series of sub-React components. So if you look at the actual theme itself on your browser, the challenge is essentially where to split these up into components. All right, so you can kind of see that this top layer is going to be probably a component, and this is a component, and these are all going to be components. But if you look closely, let me zoom out a little bit. You see how this component and this one are basically the same, just in a different visual configuration. So what that means from a React standpoint is they're going to be the same component with a property that simply determines the layout, the configuration. So this isn't as many components as you might think. This is just one component laid out 3 times. So that's how we're going to organize this. So that's going to be in video 2, so stay tuned for that. And that's it. So thanks for watching.